Hello, everybody. My name is Juan Rociles. I'm at Joliet Central High School, attending Engineering and Architecture 2 class, and the year is 2023. Today, I'll be showing you guys my CO2 Dragster project and how I built my CO2 car. The first step in making my CO2 car, I had to print out my drawing, then tape it to the wooden block that comes in the kit. Then, once taped, I drew the border. Then, I used a bandsaw at the school to cut it out. You can see it in the bottom image right here. Once I finished cutting my car, I then move on cutting the gap in my design. I used a drill press to cut it since it's going to make it more easier to cut it out. Doing so, I also decided to cut the axles, which I made a mistake, causing one of the holes for the axle being higher than the other one, which resulted in my car being tilted forward a little bit. Once I finished doing all the drill presses, I use a coping saw to cut out as much wood as I can, and after that, I use a drill to smooth it out the edges that were left by the drill press. Then I proceeded to drill the top of my gap. Once I finished my first gap, I then proceeded to the outline of the second one. Then I used the drill press again, but this time I used a smaller drill bit so that it's easier to sand. Once I got home, I decided to sand it there. I first started with 60 grit sandpaper so I could remove as much as possible of wood. Then I moved to 100 grit sandpaper to smooth the car as much as possible. Once I finished sanding and getting it approved by Mr. West, I started to spray paint my car. I first went a white layer so it could have white stripes. Then once it was dried, I used tape to hide parts that I didn't want to change the color. Once I was ready to spray paint again, I went with like a blue color for my second layer of spray paint. Once the paint was finished drying, I removed the tape very carefully because the spray paint a little bit bled through. Once everything was ready, I started to assemble. I first started by cutting the lengths of my straws and putting them in as much as possible. Then I started by inserting the axles, then the brass washers, and the wheels. Because I made a mistake more earlier with the axle holes, my screw eyes, one of them I had to screw in very, very in, and it's very close to the ground, which was almost a mistake that I have to make. Now it's race time.